Hello, and welcome back to A Nerd, a Teacher, and a Hockey Player. A relevant yet irreverent look at all things business, tech, and life in Wichita or wherever you may be watching from. I'm Paul, I'm the nerd.
I'm Kimber, and I'm the teacher.
And I'm Jeff, I'm the hockey player.
Jeff, who's sitting next to you?
Today we got our friend Dave Cunningham from the Flint Hills Group. And the theme today, Kimber, is...
It's World Whiskey Day.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. And so my friend Dave here is he's a whiskey expert, I would call it, right?
I am a whiskey expert.
You are a whiskey expert. In fact, you've got an app for that.
I do.
Tell us about your app a little bit.
So my app's, it's called Whiskey Shelf. It's been on all the app stores for 2.5 years now. There's it's almost 19,000 people have loaded the app in 65 countries. Most of them are in the U.S., but we've got users in New Zealand and Singapore. They're all over the place.
Right. I downloaded the app. I haven't really gotten into it yet or anything. Tell us, what can you do with it?
So I learned that there are lots of geeky whiskey collectors out there that have hundreds and, believe this, thousands of bottles, and they don't have great ways of tracking all the bottles they have. So I own a software company. It's called Flint Hills Group. We're out of Wichita also. We build custom software for small to medium-sized businesses. And we thought, I'd love to build my own app. I use my own people to do that. So we built, I also teach a startup class at Groover Labs called Campfire. And it's all about what's the best practices for starting up a product or a business. Mm-hmm. So I used that to build Whiskey Shelf. So we started with a very skinny type concept of a barcode scanner that could scan the barcodes on different bottles. And we have a database that loads that bottle into your system, and then you can put in store you bought it and the price and ratings and notes and all kinds of stuff. And then you can manage your whole collection through the app.
Neat.
So I want to go back to that whole idea of a collection, because I'm new to the whole whiskey bourbon world. Mm-hmm. So do people actually literally have 100 open bottles and they just choose what they want to drink today? Or the second that Jeff opened his bottle, does it now have a shelf life and he needs to drink that in the next X number of days, weeks, months, or in Jeff's case, hours?
Hours. Great question. Great question.
It'll
I'm
be gone
all
by
ears.
tomorrow, won't it?
Can I help you out with that?
So that's a controversial subject, and I'll tell you my professional opinion on it. I got into whiskey because I was big into wine. And during COVID, I realized I was drinking way too much wine. And I like reds, so once you open a bottle of red, you need to drink it like in a day or two.
The clock is ticking.
Vinegar.
Yep.
Clock's ticking. And what I learned about whiskey is whiskey can be just as complex as wine. It's grains. It comes from grains instead of grapes. But when you open a bottle of whiskey, it can be good for decades if you store it correctly. So all these bottles have different corks. This has a real cork. Mm-hmm. That bottle might be real or it might be rubber. I don't know.
Let's find out.
And Jeff, while you have that open, my ice cube is getting really freaking
Yeah,
lonely.
let's pour.
It smells good too. You mind if I pour?
Help yourself.
Okay.
So while they're pouring,
I still got work to
mention
do today, so yeah, thank you. Thank you for being a little less generous. That'll work.
Yeah, here, let's.
Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Because I've got plenty.
No, that's perfect.
And just a small amount, because I'm not a whiskey kid.
Oh, it grows on you.
Yeah.
And the podcast may get really interesting.
Yeah, we're going to start slurring our speech here real soon.
Well,
Can I?
Yeah.
Or?
No, this is mine.
This is
perfect.
yours.
So to answer your
More
question,
whiskey.
to answer your question, in general, there's different levels of a bottle. In fact, I like this bottle better. Let me see yours.
Sure.
So a bottle has 3 parts to it. There's the neck, there's the shoulders, the body, and that's the bottom. And the first part, when you open it and you pour it, that's called a neck pour. And usually a whiskey is going to be the least, the neck pour is going to be as bad as it'll be usually. And after it's been opened, sometimes a whiskey might not taste that great. And you can recork it and put it on the shelf for 2 or 3 months and try it in 2 or 3 months and be like, oh my God, this is a entirely different experience.
I experienced that. I did. I had some that was, I can't remember the name of it, but same. At first I couldn't stand it. And then I went back to it a couple months later and it was better.
It's a chemistry
more
experiment.
Smooth, yeah.
So really,
if he was using the app, he could tell you what that was a few years later.
Right there.
so the app actually even tracks the level of your bottles. Cheers. Cheers.
Yes.
Woo, cheers.
What should I be tasting? Like, what should I be doing here?
So actually, we kind of cut to the chase. Normally, you would nose it. You would smell it like a good wine, you know? And I've been in tastings before where we'll nose a really high-end whiskey for 4, 5, 10 minutes. And as you smell it more, things start coming out. And I have heard smells of, believe it or not, bubblegum, Laffy Taffy, Dr. Pepper, crazy
Paul,
stuff.
Diet Dr. Pepper, Paul.
But usually caramel, wood, honey, oak. Those are common things. And as you refine your nose and your taste, you can get better at it. So the general answer is this part of the bottle, when it's like this is a primo part of the bottle. And you may have been like this for years. But as it gets further down, like down near the bottom, you need to like polish that off, or there's a concept we will talk about of an infinity bottle, which is a blend bottle. So you take a couple ounces of this and a couple ounces of this and a couple ounces of different things and put it into an infinity bottle, and you've created something that does not exist anywhere in the world. And the app tracks that.
What do you think, Paul? You like this?
Mm-hmm. This is a good one.
This is Jefferson's Ocean, and the reason I brought it is because it's aged for a time at sea. And the neat thing about it is that on the little label here, it tells you what the voyage number was and kind of where they went. So,
and that's a rye.
Yep.
And ryes are great. This is a bourbon. And what's interesting is bourbon is the American equivalent of what Scotch is to Scotland.
Okay, explain.
So Scotch and single malt Scotch, you could use the same ingredients and make it here, or you can make it in France, but you cannot call it Scotch or single malt Scotch. You can call it single malt because Scotland owns the rights to that name. So bourbon, there are laws on the books in the U.S. and internationally that you can only call something bourbon if it's made in the United States. It doesn't have to be made in Kentucky. It can be made in Hawaii or Alaska, hypothetically. Wow. There are bourbons made in Kansas. But it's got to be, there's something called the mash bill, which is the ingredients of the grains that go into this. And the mash bill on this must be 51% or more corn.
Corn, that's what I thought. Yep.
Corn gives a sweetness to it. Okay. So, and it's got some other rules. It's got to go into a unused, brand new American charred oak barrel, and it's got to be stored in there for a finite amount of time.
And it has to be brand new. It can't be reused.
It has to be brand new. So this bottle of Blanton's was made in a brand new charred American oak barrel. And once it's done, you can never make bourbon in that barrel ever again. But there's a whole market for it. Uh-huh. They'll sell it to Scotland, and they'll put single malt Scotch in bourbon barrels and other things. So they get reused in different ways. And if you did remake the exact same thing in that barrel, you can't call it bourbon, but you can call it whiskey.
Right. Okay. And so every bourbon is a whiskey, but not every whiskey is a bourbon.
Exactly. Rye is a whiskey too. But rye is got to be 51% or more rye grain in here. This is 51% or more bourbon.
Very nice. Cool. And it tastes really good. I like this. This is good.
Well, while we sip this and I figure out what it is I'm supposed to be tasting, tell me about your shirt, Paul. I
am wearing, to go with today's theme, I'm wearing a shirt I got at the Rocktown Distillery in Little Rock, Arkansas. It was a trip we took several years ago. My wife wanted to go to the Clinton Presidential Library there. Mm-hmm. And we've developed this habit of when we travel someplace, we may have one or two things we want to go do, and we nail down the hotel, but then we let the rest of the trip just kind of evolve. So to kind of give you an example, we showed up at Little Rock, Arkansas in time for dinner. We checked into the hotel. We asked the front desk person, we're looking for a place to eat dinner tonight. Where do you suggest we go? Where's a good place that you'd like to go on a date? Because obviously the first place she's going to say is, well, the hotel's got a great restaurant. Right. She goes, oh, on a date? I love it when my boyfriend takes me here. So it's a steakhouse around the corner. We went there. As we're eating dinner, the waiter comes over and says, you guys been here before? We say, no, this is our first time here. What should we do while we're in town? First time in Little Rock, what should we do? The guy pulls out a newspaper and says, the symphony is doing the music of Star Wars tonight.
Oh, I love that.
And
That'd
it
be
starts
cool.
in 2.5 hours, so you have time to eat dinner and get over there. And then you need to go to Rocktown Distillery. It's right around the corner. It's an easy walk. They do free tastings. Never really was a bourbon whiskey fan, but it wasn't bad. And it's kind of grown on me since. So that's why the Rocktown Distillery T-shirt. How about yourself, Kimber? Blank Days Sober, huh?
Kimber's shirt is awesome. I just got to say.
Blank Days Sober.
This is not my shirt. I did go through someone else's drawer and be like, can I borrow this? This would be perfect.
So
And it was like, yeah, that's going to be amazing.
Right. Perfect.
I feel like he's had this shirt since he was like 20. So, you know,
And it still holds true?
yes.
Yeah,
there's some.
Half day.
Half day.
1 hour.
Oh, man.
Right?
Yeah. So,
Mine has nothing to do with booze or whiskey day or anything. It's Zion National Park. My wife and I, a few years ago, we got into canyoneering, hanging off the side of canyons
cool.
on rappelling on ropes. So that's kind of our thing.
With or without bourbon?
Without bourbon.
Okay.
You don't want bourbon, and especially you don't want bourbon when you're tying your own belay.
That's a very short event if you do.
Exactly. And what you're wearing, Dave?
And my shirt, I'll let you read this.
That's what I do. I drink bourbon, and I know things.
So I bought this in Kentucky on one of my
Perfect.
Kentucky tours, and I loved it. I've never seen it anywhere else. And every time I wear this out, as anything to do with alcohol, people gravitate to it.
Yeah.
So it was perfect for
If
this
that it works for, and it works good for our cast today. So thank you for wearing that.
You bet.
Excellent. Okay, ready for more?
okay, so now it's been sitting. We can smell it, and we might smell something different if we have any idea what we're supposed to be
It
doing.
can open up. Yeah, it can actually change over time. And if this was a real hardcore whiskey tasting, we would use one of these glasses, which is called a Glencairn glass. And you pour it up to about halfway around the bowl, and you just almost stick your whole nose in it and swirl it around. And things open up over time, because what I love about whiskey is its chemistry. It really is. Every bourbon, every whiskey is different, how it smells and tastes. And if it's like this Blanton's bottle is called a single barrel. What that means is this Jefferson's Ocean, they blend a whole bunch of barrels together to get a taste that's consistent, which is great because you can always count on it tasting this way when you buy it. But there's not one that's like off the charts spectacular. If you buy a single barrel, that barrel may be like the best thing you've ever tried in your entire life. But each barrel is uniquely different, and when it's gone, and you will never experience that barrel ever again.
So that's the single barrel. It's been used once.
That's right.
Okay.
And so this is never blended. If a bottle says single barrel on it, it's never blended with something. Now, it might be a bad single barrel.
Right. I don't want to remember that one.
And sometimes it'll say single barrel and barrel proof or full proof. And what that means is they have added no water to it. So like this bottle of Jefferson's is 96 proof. And proof, by the way, is 2 times the alcohol percent. So it's 48% alcohol, 96 proof. Here's an interesting fact. Proof, the term proof is only used in Ireland and the United States. Nowhere else in the world do they know what the hell you're talking about. Oh, there we go.
Hey!
Pass it down.
Yeah, I knew it would come up. Hopefully I brought enough quarters.
You got 50
not-
cents.
yeah,
Go
50
easy.
cents.
Go easy, Dave.
We'll
So-
float you some quarters.
Proof has to do with, it goes back to the time frame of ships when they would have sailors and they would pay them in the form of rum. And if the rum would light on fire, it was high enough proof that it was good quality rum. So that term comes from that time frame. The other thing that the U.S. and Ireland holds together is the way they spell the word whiskey. Whiskey is spelled 2 different ways. W-H-I-S-K-E-Y, which is in America and Ireland, but the rest of the world spells it W-H-I-S-K-Y with no E.
And they're wrong.
And tell that to a single malt Scotch lover, and
Says the teacher.
That's incorrect.
So really, single malt Scotch is considered like the grandfather of whiskey. Like it's where it started, and everything else branched out from that. I like single malt, but I love bourbon.
So, Dave, is there a secondary market for that? I mean, let's say that particular barrel number that you fell in love with, that you wanted another or 10 more of. Is there a secondary market where you can go out and you can buy 2 or 3 more of those?
There absolutely is. And in fact, kind of working on that with the app. One of the things we have in the app is a wish list. So real crazy whiskey collectors like myself, I think I have 240 bottles now. We have a list of things we're looking for all the time. And you might have it on a little notes section in your phone or something like that. Well, we built it into the app too. And we're actually creating a market to where all of our users that have a wish list, that we can provide that whiskey they're looking for shipped right to their house.
There you go. That's cool.
So for the person that may have bought 10 of those at the same time, that all are the same barrel number and has them sitting in the basement.
There is an illegal underground market, I will tell you, where people will ship whiskey. It is illegal. It does happen. I've never done that myself. Just tell you that.
Meet me at College Hill Park at 6:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Nudge, nudge.
No shipping involved.
I will say with this bottle of Blanton's, the MSRP on this I think is about $67, and I bought bottles at $67. You will almost never find this sitting in a store, and if you do, some stores might have this for like $150 or $200. So the concept of secondary market is there's certain bottles that are called allocated. They're hard to find, and you can always get them over the internet through a liquor store, but you're going to pay a premium for it, and that's called the secondary market price versus the MSRP. So
Didn't know that either.
oh yeah,
This could be a longer podcast because I'm learning stuff. What's the best whiskey you've ever had?
okay. I have
Probably have to frame it, but I mean,
yeah, and I will. There's
just your favorite.
There's
Just
a
your
story
favorite.
behind this. So normally when people talk about whiskey and what is the pinnacle of whiskey, a brand that will come up a lot is Pappy Van Winkle. You all look like you've heard Pappy Van Winkle.
I've sipped Pappy out of a solo cup.
Awesome, I love it.
Because Jeff's fancy like that.
And what did you think about it?
It was amazing. It was so good. It was so smooth. I mean, it was like there was no whiskey burn, or it was just
Smooth
it was
as
so
silk.
so smooth. It was. There's a story of a guy was retiring, and the company bought him a bottle of Pappy for his retirement.
Yeah, how awesome!
And he would not
open it.
He didn't want to not share. I mean, he felt, I think, compelled. And what are you going to do? Solo cups. Somebody go get some solo cups. And that's what we drank it out of. Yeah, I wish, but it really tasted good out of a solo cup too.
Well, I've had Pappy, and there's like Pappy 10-year and 12-year and 15-year and 23-year, and I've had it all, and they're all great. They really are. To give you an example on cost, that 10-year Pappy, I want to say the MSRP is $110, but the secondary market I think is about $750 to $800. The 23-year goes up to thousands of dollars on the secondary market. And
this was an expensive bottle, I know.
it is smooth and it's delicious and it's great, but it's not my favorite.
It isn't. What is your favorite?
So it started out, those bottles did, but then as you drink more, you look for something that's more intense and has more complex flavors and wows you. So a brand that I've gotten really attached to, and you can go online and order this and have it shipped right to your house. It's I was just there a month ago. It's called Nashville Barrel Company. They don't actually even distill their own whiskey. So an interesting fact, this group could create your own whiskey brand, and you could buy the barrels from a wholesaler, put it in your bottle with your label and sell it as yours. And this happens all the time. A lot of brands you see like George Remus and I think Rittenhouse, and there's a number of brands. It is not that company that made it. There's a company called MGP, Midwest Grain Products, out of Indiana. They're a massive producer of food and oil products and alcohol, including gin and rye and rum. And they make fantastic alcohol. So people buy entire barrels from them and put it in their bottles. Mm-hmm. Nashville Barrel Company buys hundreds of barrels from MGP. They buy barrels from Jim Beam, the really, really, really high-end barrels. Mm-hmm. And then they buy some barrels from like Green River and sometimes Dickel. but they hand-pick the barrel. They like taste out of a whiskey thief. They taste each individual barrel and pick them usually, and they're intense. They're off the charts, crazy intense.
When you say intense, just the flavor, or is it like the proof, or what's intense?
Yes to all of those. So they're single barrel by the fact that they're not blending, generally not blending barrels together. They're barrel proof because they've added no water to them. So this bottle is 96 proof. It did not come out of the barrel at 96 proof. They had to add water to it, and every single one of these bottles is listed as 96 proof. Every single barrel is a chemistry experiment. Every single barrel has its own unique proof. They're all different.
Since the reason they have to put water in it
Right.
to get it to the right proof.
Even this Blanton's, which is a single barrel, is 93 proof. They've added water to this to get it exactly to 93. A normal proof range, probably like 110 proof to, I have one bottle. It's a 34-year Canadian whiskey, and it's 153 proof. I think you could probably,
You could sterilize surgical equipment with that.
run your car on it, I'm sure. So what happens with high proof whiskey like that is alcohol bonds the flavors and the smells together, and it's intense. It's amazing, the smells and the tastes on one of these bottles. And I have probably about 40 Nashville Barrel Company bottles, and they're off the charts insane.
It's my new best friend, Dave. Have
Yes.
you met Dave?
And I have people over because I cannot drink 230 bottles of whiskey.
Come on.
The other awesome thing about whiskey and all these collections is it's a very social thing.
Mm-hmm.
People share. They want to share. They want to talk about it. There are probably a few that sit home and drink it, try to drink it by themselves, but 98% of them just love having friends over and drinking together, and I fall into that category.
That's cool. Hey, I noticed that your Blanton's there was opened.
Cork way. And what's interesting, try the Blantons.
I would love to.
So
Thank
what's
you.
interesting as you pour that,
Jeff's getting further from the microphone as the afternoon goes on.
so Blanton's has they get the credit for the most ingenious bottle design. It's a beautiful
cool.
bottle, but it has this cool little horse on it.
Mm-hmm.
And what you may not know, but a lot of people know, is on each horse, down in the bottom corner of the foot, there's a letter. And this actually has an O. And there's a cork for a B, an L, an A, an N, a T, an O, an N, and an S. It spells out Blanton's. And the first one, the B, is just a standing horse. And the next one's slightly trotting. And the next one's starting to run. And the last one's a full-out gallop. And they intentionally try to get you to collect every single bottle with every cork.
Of course they do. It's collector's
Brilliant.
item.
I'll let you
Brilliant.
pass that around and look at the little
Genius
letter down
marketing.
there. It
Man,
is
it's heavy.
genius.
This
It's
is pretty
metal.
heavy. Yeah, it's neat.
And if you collect all of the corks with Blanton's, you can ship them all into the distillery, which is Buffalo Trace, and they will mount them on a whiskey stave and mail them back to you. So you have this whiskey stave
cool.
with all the corks.
You're a fan, aren't you? Don't you? You like?
I drink Buffalo Trace.
Buffalo Trace, yeah, which is a bourbon, by the way.
It is, and in full disclosure, I am a newcomer to this whole world. Probably the first time I drank bourbon, in this case it was Buffalo Trace, was probably only like 2 or 3 years ago. Oh, really? Mm-hmm. I was coming back on a flight from somewhere, and I was fortunately sitting in first class, and I had this throat thing, and felt like I was coughing all the time. And I thought, what would be good on that? You guys, what's this Buffalo Trace thing on the menu?
Yeah.
Let me have one of those. Oh, that's better. Let me have another one. Can I have one more? It's a long flight. So after that, I was like, hey, this is no longer a drink for like old guys. This is
Good.
This is good.
And it helped my cough.
This is good. It helped my cough.
And as you left the plane, you're like, bye.
So my whole world. Thank you for the Jefferson's Ocean,
Of course.
Jeff, because my whole world up until today of bourbon was Buffalo Trace, which is in Delta's first class, by the way, and Woodford, which is in American's first class.
Right.
I have no idea what United serves.
Blanton's.
I doubt it.
I doubt it.
So the other thing I love to do is when I have people over for tastings, a lot of people have not tried a lot of different things. Like we have rye and we have bourbon. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Right. So Oftentimes we'll try Japanese whiskey, single malt Scotch, blended Scotch, rye, bourbon. There's all kinds of Tennessee whiskey is a category in itself. And so people get to form an opinion on what they think. So like most people have never had Japanese whiskey. It's very similar to single malt. They cannot call it Scotch.
Is it sake?
Oh, it's a lot better than sake.
It's sake is like warm hairspray. I just got to say it right now. It's not my
So sake is rice wine.
right.
And what it reminds me of when I try Japanese whiskey is a very floral single malt Scotch. It's kind of delicate. I really like it. And so it's fun to try different times.
So I noticed that you mentioned earlier the infinity bottle.
Yes.
And I noticed you had that on your app. So tell me, what do you do with that? So you just keep track of the different things you put into your infinity bottle?
Yes. So an infinity bottle, I don't know how that looks up, but it looks like a graphical bottle with kind of a list of items that have been added into it. So I can scan a bottle. Typically, an infinity bottle may be an empty, cool bottle that you have. My infinity bottle I use, I actually found it at an antique store, and it's an old antique Kansas bourbon bottle. It's got the Kansas tax stamp that used to go over the top. It's really cool. It's all crystal. And that's my infinity bottle because it looks cool. So you clean it out. And then you're taking of your good whiskeys that you like. You take an ounce or two and you pour it in. A lot of times what people do is when it gets down near the bottom, they'll measure that out and finish the rest of the bottle and put it into the infinity bottle. So as you add things, the app will calculate the proof for the ABV percent because it's doing a lot of liquid math. It knows the exact proof on all these bottles as part of the database. And it's calculating the exact amount you put in with the proof, calculates it, but it gets more complicated because then as you pour out and try it and then pour other stuff back in, we have to keep track of that. It's a complicated software thing. So it's really cool on your infinity bottle. And if you find the thing you like perfectly, you actually have the instructions on how to recreate it anywhere else in the world, like a recipe. That is impossible for anyone else to know about. So,
I like it.
That's
I like it.
fancy.
Okay, so I haven't logged in, but I'm going to create a login. I'm going to go. Can I?
An infinity bottle is fun.
Is it?
Yeah, it's really fun to try
I'm
it.
down. I'm down. You're my new best friend.
And what I find fascinating about this, and the thing I learned today, is that you don't have to finish it all at once. Well, not all at once. You don't have to finish it in a short period of time. You know, that half full bottle of that Jeff brought in, he can keep for weeks, months, years, and just go back to it every time that he wants memory of that event or that particular flavor or something.
And the only warnings are you need to keep it in a climate controlled area and away from light. Don't put it up in the windowsill
Obviously,
where the
yeah.
light sits on it. That can hurt. That can hurt whiskey. And the cork needs to be really firm. So like if you're in Colorado where it's really dry and you had a real cork, that cork might actually shrink up. And if it does and air can get in there, that whiskey will turn to
Syrup.
put it in. I'm going to say it in advance.
Yeah.
Turn to crap is what it
No,
is.
you should say shit. Crap will not earn you a quarter.
Oh, well, it turned to shit.
All right, there you go.
I only have $1 left.
But on the shelf in the office, at home, in the
That's fine.
out of direct sunlight is
fine, yeah.
perfectly
It's
fine.
fine. And bottles that are like this level, fine. I know one gentleman that has over 500 open bottles. 500.
Quitter.
I have,
ADD's a bitch.
and the app will tell you exactly how many open bottles you have. So, some people want to know that kind of stuff. So I have like 65 open bottles, but then it also has like a random bottle picker that if you have so many bottles, you don't know what to sample. It actually picks a sample bottle for you.
What a
Like it
first
says
world problem.
to pick a Heaven Hill 7-year bottled and bond bottle. But you can filter it down to only ryes and only open bottles and stuff like that. It's really fun.
So does the type of cork, you
Yeah.
said earlier, it's like, oh yeah,
It
that's a real
does.
cork. That's not rubber. So the
Rubber is honestly better.
is it,
Rubber will never,
it will
I know,
dry out.
I'm a traditionalist. I love a real cork, but rubber will never shrink. So rubber's actually better to hold on to a bottle. These corks, they can, some people, well, they also say never store a bottle like this or
Right.
like this because the alcohol will literally eat up the cork over time and it
Gotcha.
will
It
fail.
will.
So you always store a whiskey bottle upwards. It's not like wine.
Okay. Learning things as we
There are
go.
so many things. There's even a section in the app called Whiskey Wisdom that you can learn about whiskey.
Paul, you really got to try this Blanton's. It is so smooth.
Try
It
it.
is so smooth.
Come
Am I
on.
slurring my speech yet, Paul? All right.
Pass it down.
That's Troy.
Troy? Paul? Can I get an Uber? No, I'm joking. I'm having fun. This has really been enlightening. I'm learning a lot.
I run a software company. I've been doing software for 40 years. But I really found that this is a passion of mine. So I combined my business and my passion. And this is a business too. Whiskey Shelf is a business. There's a premium version that gives you all kinds of extra cool things. And we work with distilleries to sell the combined data. We don't sell individual data, but like how many of a certain bottle is on people's wish list by zip code, right?
Okay.
Then they know where to actually put their product where it's needed.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
That's cool. That is cool.
There's been a time or two we've showed up somewhere really hoping to find a thing and just missed it. Like, we'll just put it in on the zip code so that
There
we
you
know
go.
it needs to come in.
That's right.
Trying to find a thing.
Dave, we appreciate you joining us today. Any final words of wisdom to leave with our viewers today?
I would say if you have not at least tried whiskey, whether it be rye, bourbon, give it a shot. Get yourself invited to a friend's house that has a wide collection and just try little bits. Start with low proof. And what will happen is if you like it, like you liked the bottles you tried, as you like something, you'll want the proof to get higher and higher. So give it a shot. Find a good friend that will sample things, and I think there's a good chance you'll fall in love with it.
Appreciate you joining us today. We're going to sit here and continue to drink.
Yes.
But stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for watching. Bye.